Hello everybody, this is GeneralJannis, and today in Chaos Tactics I'm looking at the new 40k datasheets, how they are built up, and especially now where we have the rules for the loyalist terminators, trying to analyze all the changes that seem to be incoming for the new 40k edition. So with no further ado, let's get started. So today, the 6th of April, Easter holidays starting here in Denmark, and today I'm having some Crusade games for both my Death Card and 1000 Sound 500 points. So looking forward for some narrative Crusade experience agenda gaining. But in this video, as I said, we'll focus on the new data sheets previewed by Warhammer Community. What did we learn? Looking at the data sheets and the rules build up, and then in detail about the Terminator squad. What does the new toughness for Terminators mean, and how will the new leadership mechanic work? So before I start, always big thanks to my patrons, YouTube supporters, and also everybody participating in the Discord channel. So first, let's start looking at how the datasheets are going to be built up now in the future. So I think we have seen the Termagons and we've seen the Terminator squad. So all in all, these datasheets look very beautiful, and it can be quite helpful to have them next to the board when you're playing. When I started my 40k career, I started with the first strike box, and there was this similar data sheets that came with that for the Poxwalkers, the Plague Marines, and also the Intercessors, etc. So I thought that was the normal way that 40k was going, and then of course I had to realize I made some of my own or something, or you needed to flip around the codex. So all in all, they look pretty neat. And what we see also that from the base stats, that strength, number of attacks, and weapon skill or ballistic skill has been moved to the weapons section. So no need to say this has +1 attack with this weapon or -1 to hit, because you can just put it in the weapon skill, ballistic skill, or the number of attacks. And the strength versus toughness will work roughly the same way as we understand it for the wound rolls. For example, strength equal to the toughness, then you would need 4 force to wound. So that was also discussed by Warhammer Community. And then there is a completely new way to do the leadership stat. I'll come back to this. So you have to roll a low leadership stat is good, because you with 2d6 you have to take a leadership test. You have to be above your leadership. Interestingly enough, for example, for the Terminators, there is no separate line for the Sergeant. So that how does that impact the number of attacks? For example, for the Sergeant's weapon are higher, but the leadership, if the Sergeant dies, they still seem to be having the Terminator squad seems to have the same leadership. And then the objective control stat, the number, for example, the Termagants have 2 and the Terminators are 1. Basically, it's how good they are at holding objectives per model. So you would sum up all your objective control stats and then compare to the opponents. The highest number wins. So nothing with objective secure and things like that. So if you say you have 3 Terminators and 2 Intercessors, you will have objective control of 7. Intercessors also had the objective control of 2. And what do we miss from this datasheet build-up? So the points are not there, probably in the separate sheets, or they come out like we have today. But what about the war gear options? Who can take what? Who is equipped with that? In the datasheets from the first strike, you had the normal line, like you say, okay, the sergeant can be equipped with this or that, and 1 in 5 can take this. So that's a bit. I don't know where they would put that information. It's not in the datasheets. So will it be in the page rules, or will it appear on the data sheet? So I think that's the major part missing from these data sheets. But otherwise, looking really nice, and really looking forward to the new edition to get these data sheets on the table. Looking now at the Terminators themselves, the Terminators get some nice buffs to their durability. So toughness goes up from 4 to 5. The save is still a 2+, but now they get a 4+ invul save, and they have the leadership of 6+. So that's of course much better for durability. Approaching the Death Guard durability, Terminators like the Blightlords, I'll show you in the next section. I've calculated the effect of this durability increase, and then we see some interesting rules for the weapons. The heavy flamer says that it ignores cover, and then it has a keyword of torrent. So maybe this covers the auto hit rule or something like this, or is it some sort of blast for uh, for flamer weapons? Rapid fire rules seem to be work as before. At half range, you add the number after the rapid fire. So the storm bolter has two shots, two attacks, let's say here. And if you are within 12 inch, you will be getting two shots more. The question is if the Space Marine still will be able to rapid fire from the full distance. We'll have to see on the faction rules. Also, they introduce a new thing called anti-weapons. So, for example, anti-vehicle, anti-infantry, anti-monster, or something like this. And that was quite interesting. So the Chain Fist here has anti-vehicle 3 plus, and what this means is that on the wound roll, if you roll a 3 or higher, you get a critical wound. And then, what does critical wound mean? Not completely sure, but it's on the wound roll, so it's not an auto wound. But they had an explanation said that a critical wound is a guaranteed success, normally achieved by rolling an unmodified 6. So maybe all weapons have a critical wound if they hit a 6 to wound. The anti-weapons can do it, let's say 3, 4, 5 or something like this. But would it when it says a guaranteed success, does it mean that it ignores rules from the opponent? Does it bypass the armor? Does it bypass invul saves? Is it like sort of a mortal wound? So we'll have to wait for some clarification on this. And then the assault cannon, it has the rule devastating wounds. Maybe that's something like mortal wounds, but they didn't talk more about it. And now Power Fist, also we can see they don't have a penalty to hit, or the power weapon from the sergeant doesn't have a penalty to hit. Looking then at the Terminators rules, basically the abilities, we see that the abilities are they will be grouped by core abilities and faction abilities. So in the core ability, they have the deep strike, so that's nice to get it there. And in faction abilities, we have Oath of the Moment. They will explain that further, what this is for Space Marines. There is no core keyword for the Terminators, so this is seems to be gone. And they have the ability to use a teleport Homer, and this allows them to utilize a core stratagem that seems to be available for the units that maybe can do the reserves or deep strikes or something like this. But it allows these Terminators to use it without paying the command point. And I really like how the new build-up of the stratagems is done. They clearly stipulate when you can do it, what the target can be, what is the effect, and then what are restrictions from using this, for example, this rapid ingress. It seems that you can use this strat to arrive after the opponent's movement phase. You can make sort of a deep strike. The Terminators will put a marker and land somewhere. I'm not sure how helpful that is if you arrive if you arrive in your opponent's after your opponent's movement somewhere on the board, and they can shoot at you and charge at you. Maybe you don't want that, but if you can hide them, or it could be quite interesting mechanic for some ideas. And then they have the Fury of the First ability that seems to be tied with the Oath of the Moment. Probably the Space Marines can select a target and then get rerolls or hit better or wound rerolls or something like this. But we will get more into that. But everything neatly covered in one data sheet here. Now looking at some of the math here. So the new Terminators, how durable are they compared to the current Terminators? So here I'm showing for a variety of weapons, at least weapons from the 9th edition, how many attacks of each of these weapon profiles, from light weapons to very heavy weapons, does it take to kill one Terminator model. So in the 9th edition, for example, we can see it's needed 54 bolter shots with a 3+ to hit to eventually kill one of the Terminators, but with a toughness 5 and the better invul save, let's say a Terminator in the 10th edition would be requiring 81 shots to be killed. That's an increase of 50% more shots can be taken by the new Terminators. And we can see overall for nearly all the weapons we see are around 30, 40, 50%, 67% more durability, especially for the heavy weapons, where we have now a 4+ invul for the Terminators. So all in all, 40% more durability versus light weapons and 60% more durability for heavy weapons, at least the weapons I have analyzed here in my table. So the new Terminators, for the Loyalist Terminators in the 10th edition, they will be quite close to the Blightlord Terminators in the current edition. You can see a comparison there. The Blightlord Terminators a bit more durable due to the disgusting resilience -1 to incoming damage, but very close. And the only weapons that are basically unaffected is the Blight Launcher from Death Guard. The Strength 6 seems to be good against these new Terminators. But the question is then, will Death Guard get a further durability boost as the more durable Terminators? I'm really crossing fingers for some type of Feel No Pain or maybe a Toughness 6. I'll try to check what could be interesting there, but we'll have to wait and see. And then looking a little bit at the new leadership mechanics. Warhammer community has previewed that leadership will work in another way, so that units need to take from some events, they need to take battle shock tests, maybe something similar to today's dread test from the Chaos Knights. So for example, if a squad is at below half starting strength in command phase, it has to take a battle shock test, and you roll 2d6s, you score the leadership or higher to succeed. They mentioned here for the intercessor squad stats. And then if you fail your battle shock, maybe no models are fleeing, but you will get some disabilities, like maybe for the turn, like the battle scars in Crusade. You cannot use stratagems, you cannot control so well the objectives or something like this. We'll see if there are some rules that models will flee in the leadership, but it will have a bigger effect, Warhammer community said. And from the things we have been previewed so far, we see the Intercessors and Terminators have a leadership of 6+, and the Termagants have a leadership of 8+. And the question is, how will then mechanics work to lower the leadership or modify this battle shock test? For example, demons today or knights that use these dread auras. Let's see how that will work. But in the table to the right, I calculated for 2d6, what do you need if you have a leadership 6+, like the Intercessors and Terminators. You have a 28% risk of failing the battle shock test. For the Termagants at leadership 8, it's 58%. And you can see maybe if you have some even higher leadership or lower leadership, there is quite high chance of failing these battle shock tests. So, reaching the summary and final thoughts from these videos, or really looking forward to using these new data sheets and the release of them. I think it will make playing easier. From my part, I've been used to do some sort of cheat lists that I print out for the games, but these look also very nice. Of course, it will be interesting to see the more clarifications of the rules for the critical wounds and devastating wounds. Let's see the stratagems to become clearer, and these, of course, the Terminators. They will be really tough, and let's see what, for example, other factions that uses Terminators, especially Death Guard, will they be even further buffed in the durability? And then, of course, I'm personally really interested to see where they will put the War Gear option stats. So this concludes the video. What do you think about this new data sheets, all the rules, the new weapons, etc.? Leave a comment below. Also take a visit to the Discord channel to have a further discussion there. If you want to further support my efforts in providing you analysis and data and math hammering, please visit my Patreon page or become a YouTube member. And with these words, GeneralJannis signing out. Stay safe out there, and bye-bye.